Thank you, Kirsten. Take it away.
Okay. And I apologize, everyone. One moment. Try. All right. So, hello, my name is Kirsten. As Dominica introduced me, ACPE's publication specialist. And today I will be sharing one of ACPE's educational resources. That would be the Alaska Higher Education Almanac. The goal of this presentation is not to dissect this particular edition, but to provide more of an introduction to what this resource is, how we put it together, and why we put it together. And I apologize, I am having some minor technical adjustments here. Okay. All right. So, put simply, the Almanac's purpose is to provide Alaska's higher education partners and policymakers with an up-to-date resource about the landscape of higher education in Alaska. So, we do this by pulling together statistics from a large number of publicly available data sets and other annual reports. We put these, we curate all of these into a hopefully digestible format. The publication is fairly lengthy, but again, we attempt to do it in a way that is easy to review and pull relevant information from. It is important to keep in mind if you do go and explore the Almanac that we simply report on educational metrics. The publication does not explore causations, and there's going to be a few good examples demonstrating this point in some later slides. So we break the report down into sections. The first is a quick introduction to ACP and the Commission. Then we have metrics specific to Alaska. That is going to be the beefiest section of this report. The next compares Alaska to national trends as well as comparing Alaska to other specific states. We dedicate a section then to financial aid options for students, Alaska students, and highlight student outcomes. And then lastly, we follow up with individual profiles for Alaska schools and Alaska training providers. At the very, very end, we do include a data note section for anyone that's interested in the sources behind the exhibits. We do try to link specifically to the data sets we pull from or other agency reports that we curate so you can track the source to its origination. So our first section here, ACP and the Commission, we present a letter from the Commission leadership and include a current member list. We have recently highlighted ACPE's new vision and mission, and we provide updates on Alaska Can here at the start of the report. Then we move on to our Alaska context section. On the right-hand side is an example of something you would see in the report. This is breaking down standardized testing by as SAT and ACT information. The full list of subset of information in this Alaska context section includes college preparation, standardized testing, high school graduation rates, Alaska college enrollments and trends, post-secondary completions and credentials, education attainment, and economic impact. So there's a lot of topics covered in this section, varying degrees of information in those subsections. A couple other examples of exhibits here of interest. We have in-state, proportion of in-state versus out-of-state enrollments. And you will see these trends proceeding to around the pandemic when we did have a shift and there was actually a larger proportion of out-of-state enrollments than in-state. And just in 2023, we have a switch back, which is great for Alaska, where we now have more in-state than out-of-state enrollments. And this is an example, again, of very interesting trends we see here in Alaska, but the report does not statistically explore this observation. So then we move on to the third section, where we cover complementary topics to the previous Alaska section, but we compare Alaska to these national trends and states. This is also a fairly dense section, although shorter. We include some full tables of data that look at Alaska and list out each other state as well. So that can be a great reference point. Just out of interest, I've included two examples here of things in the report that again demonstrate interesting findings, but we simply report them. We don't necessarily go and research and explore the causation. So for example, Alaska, as far as enrollment intensity, Alaska has the majority of part-time students. And we see the opposite when looking on a national level, where the majority is full-time. Another finding similar to this is graduation rates. So at four-year post-secondary institutions, Alaska remains towards the low end as far as graduation rates compared to national averages. However, this is reversed at two-year post-secondary institutions. So Alaska has very high graduation rates at those two-year post-secondary institutions, which we see low graduation rates across the nation. And now we have our section relating to financial aid and student outcomes. We provide a federal and state aid summary, both written and graphic form in this section. We include special articles. These will change over time. Of late, we have provided an article dedicated to looking at the benefits of ACPE loans versus other for-profit lenders. And we also include updates and details related to the Alaska FAFSA completion initiative in this area. We're always sure to include outcomes of students in regards to the Alaska Performance Scholarship, as well as the Alaska Education Grant. And then last but not least, we have our Alaska Post-Secondary Institution Profiles section. We cover colleges and universities, other collegiate institutions, and Alaska career and technical training providers. Do want to note that this isn't necessarily an all-inclusive list. We attempt to make it as inclusive as possible, but for instance, our Alaska career and technical training providers, we do depend on information provided by those providers to include in the publication. So a survey goes out. And so certain years we have a more robust list than others. But we do try to build year to year to keep that list as accurate and up to date as possible. And so showing on this slide is an example of what one of these profiles would look like for our colleges and universities. So as you can see, very detailed, but it does give a breakdown by all sorts of metrics that are of interest. We have demographics, tuition and fees, enrollments, various ways of looking at graduation rates, summary of the top programs, those sorts of information you would find for each college in Alaska. So if anyone is interested in accessing the full report, that can be found at acpe.alaska.gov/reports. The QR code I put up here also takes you to that page. We archive all of our past editions of the Almanac in this location as well. And this is an annual report, so we will be adding on, and come spring of 2025, anyone interested can go out and find our 8th edition of the Almanac there. And I encourage anyone who thinks there's content in these articles for this report for colleagues to send it on to them. Encourage you to review it yourself. For a lot of people, there might be specific parts of the publication that are relevant, not necessarily the whole thing. And that's all I had for you today. So thank you for listening, and feel free to ask questions at this time. I might have to field them and get back, but please feel free if you have questions. We would love to answer them.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. You mentioned the survey that goes out to our partners at post-secondary institutions. I was just curious when this goes out.
It usually takes place during the fall. So
Okay.
between October and December is the most common time that is administered.
Mm-hmm. And sorry if I missed it, the next year's publication, the Almanac, will go out when?
Scheduled for spring.
Spring, okay, because we shifted that, right? A
We
year
did.
ago, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
good, perfect. Thank you so much, Kirsten. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but I did share the links and the big, nice, juicy QR code as well.
Perfect.
So yes, we do have all the archived editions of the Almanac on the site, on the website as well. So please visit the website. If I don't have any questions, then we will let you go early, Kirsten. Thank you so much. Only 2 minutes early before our next session. So thanks so much for joining us today and sharing. And thank you for all your wonderful work on these publications, because this is all Kirsten's vision for all of them. And we are so lucky to have her.
Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you, Kirsten. You have a good day
Have a
now.
good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.